Our program today is Jeremie Draper, who's sitting right over here at the front table. And many of you actually have heard her speak previously, or you know her, or you've been in her shop, or you've taken one of her classes. But she's got some pretty interesting things, I think, in line for us today. I've got the hardest part. I got to get through the introduction, Jeremie. Pekin High School. Yes, that's wrong. Illinois Central College. Then SIU Edwardsville. Carbondale. I've only got a script. And after college, she got her degree in glass. They have degrees in glass.
My parents asked.
And she left the Midwest and she went out to Oregon to try to learn some additional techniques from the West Coast. She came home for a family affair, and she ran into Dave Alwyn. That's a name that's familiar to everybody in Peoria, I think. And he offered her a position to be his caterer. Is that right? Yeah. And she said, well, I'm really all about glass, not just catering. So Alwyn agreed to set up a small solo-friendly glass studio in a meat locker inside his facility. For the next 6 years, she worked as the catering director and saved her money for her studio equipment. Boy. From the locker, Jeremie Draper Glass was established in 2009. In 2013, she had the chance to work on a 3-week project for the Corning Museum of Glass in Corning, New York. Jeremie, that's something of an honor. Huh? Yeah. After coming home, she saw the need to share her passion with her community, but knew that she needed a bigger facility. Jeremie found one in one of the last vacant studio spaces in the former Sunbeam building at the corner of Main and Sheridan. And that's where you are right now. Jeremie Draper is a public hot glass studio program giver. But listen to this. She teaches the art of hand-blown glass. She hosts Saturday classes, date nights, family parties, team building workshops, corporate outings, all within her studio over at Sheridan and Maine. Since the pandemic, she is also offering free live streaming through her Facebook page. She has an all-woman studio, and her team touches lives through their position for the hot glass movement in America. She's celebrating 13 years in business. Jeremie. to start a business. You know how hard it is to go to Oregon? And you think that you're going to learn a lot of things, and you come back and you meet one who puts you up in a locker. That's really impressive. Congratulations on your character and your work, your endurance. And so here's our speaker for today, Jeremie Draper. I'll mention that these pieces up here on the front table are things that she brought along with her. And we'll see how that goes.
Thank you for the heartfelt introduction, Tom. It's a pleasure being here today. Wow, there's a lot of people. This is fantastic. I didn't know what the turnout was going to be, because I've been kind of hiding in my studio for the last couple of years, and we haven't really seen a lot of people through the studios after the pandemic. So thank you all for coming today. I hope to provide a wonderful and visual presentation. And today, my story, I'm going to tell you a little about my story and the process and how I felt the compelling need to move back home to share my passion with the community. So as a student, it's always required, if you want to continue to show your work and be taken seriously, to provide an artist statement. So this was written about 27 years ago, and it still is with me today. So like Tom said, I went to SIUC, and this was part of my BFA thesis show. So I took the journey of learning how to blow glass. I was actually a biology major before that, but I had to walk past the glass studio in order to get to my classes. And I was very intrigued by what was happening in the studio. And finally, after about 3 weekends, one of the grad students let me take a little spool of glass. And then I was completely hooked. Came home, I told my parents I was switching my major, and they said, "What? You're almost done." But yeah, it's kind of like when you fall in love, right? Nothing else matters. So I fell in love with this hot, amazing material. And I also have a fibers background. So my BFA thesis was a combination of making 9 women's outfits made out of glass and silk. And I'll go through this presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'm gonna definitely leave some time aside for any questions. So if you want to revisit anything or need more clarification, please let me know. So yeah, this journey of glass making, I never thought I would come back home and share this with my community. This is who I am today. I'm located on the corner of Sheridan and Main, or close to. I'm in the old former Sunbeam building, and directly where my studio is, where I'm melting glass, was where the bread was being baked. So it's kind of cool to think that there were ovens in the same space that I have my ovens in, but my ovens are a lot hotter. So the description of Jjabra Glass, we're an artistic, educational, and entertainment studio that is dedicated to providing hands-on opportunities. So when I moved back and I decided to take the job and open a studio, I knew it was a huge risk, and I wanted to give people not only a chance to buy art, but really experience the art. And I never knew the impact that it would make in hindsight, looking back. And I know that through my team and I, we've touched a lot of people's lives. And there's also another offering that I have that I'll speak of in a moment that really kind of shows like the humanity side of working with glass. So our mission is to cultivate an understanding of this hot glass movement in America through hands-on opportunities, all the things that you can think of maybe coming into blow glass, birthday, a class, team building, all sorts of ways. So we hope to, share this medium and give people a deep understanding of the art of hand-blown glass. So by a show of hands, who has either read about glass or seen it on TV or have seen it in person? Okay, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Okay. So who has seen it live before? Keep your hands up. Okay. And maybe who has been into my studio? Keep your hands up. Awesome. Wow, that's fantastic. I love it. Okay, cool. Hopefully you had a great time. So going back over to the meat locker, this literally was a cooler insert. It stood about 100 inches tall, and it was really a great opportunity. That's another time for a great story, but I absolutely love the Lebanese community here. Dave Alwyn took me under his wing and gave me a really awesome opportunity. And through his help, I was able to have the bare minimum pieces of equipment to be able to melt glass. Even though I really wasn't blowing glass during those times, those years of working for him, I was doing more of this. And Jim knows all about that. So I was the catering director for the next 6 years, working my tail off for about 60, 70 hours, because if anybody knows Dave Alwyn, he's a workaholic, and I kind of was his right hand for a while there, in addition to running the catering for him. So it really was awesome to be able to learn how to talk to people and learn like what they want and their needs. But moving back to Illinois, building a studio, nobody here knew how to blow glass. So I kind of had, on any of the free time I had, to take the time to learn how to blow solo. So that tube that you see in my mouth is like a hose that's attached to the end of the iron there that allows me to inflate the glass while I sit and turn the glass in shape with my right hand. So I really took a love for the event planning. The directing of the catering really allowed me to talk to people and get out there and see what they want. So we were trying to coordinate some events at the studio and found that it was just too small to do. I got involved with the studio up in Evanston and really found the love for working with the community. So then I had an opportunity to go and work for Corning for a few years. Now, this is before I opened my business. This was kind of in the teetering time of when I was debating on what I was going to do. And the Corning Museum had a contract with the Celebrity Cruise Line for entertainment on the top deck of their ships. And I was going to go out to sea and blow glass and do this. Never did I know that I was going to turn Corning down, ever. But that was about the time that I was ready to take my glass blowing into a more permanent and full-time position. But it was a really awesome opportunity. I got to work with full-time glass blowers, and we did 12 demonstrations a day, twice a week. We did Mandarin. There was a Mandarin translator. It was really, really an awesome experience. So when I saw people coming in from New York, watching us blow glass, I said, you know what? People in Peoria have not seen this. So I felt the compelling need to bring my talent and my skill back home and offer a studio. So I came home, I looked for space. This was the summer of 2013. This was moving into the warehouse there at the studios. And that October, I opened to the public. That was the first Friday. And if you've been into the studio, you've seen the progression. But it was really, really an awesome experience. Pre-pandemic, we offered First Friday open houses where we had masses of people, hundreds of people would come through the studio and watch. And I really felt like I found a place that I needed to be. So we brought in guest artists. We had students from ISU come over and play with us. So here is the hot glass. So our tank holds about 150 pounds of glass, and it stays hot over 2,000 degrees 24/7. So you can tell, I'm sure you can understand that the cost to operate the studio is nothing cheap. So here is the hollow stainless steel iron called a blowpipe. And the very beginning, the life breath starts with a fast breath that's pushed through the tube into the hot glass. And you see that bubble is starting to expand there. Through a process of rolling into different frit. This is colored glass metallic oxides. So the tank that holds our glass is all clear glass. It comes from Germany. It's a special glass that's made from us. So thank you in advance for offering any window glass or beer bottles to recycle, but I cannot take that. So the glass actually is made for us to melt a little bit lower temperature at about 2000 degrees. Glass actually wants to melt at 2700 degrees. So they have put different sand into the mixture that allows us to be able to endure that heat, and it's a little bit easier on our equipment as well. This is a cherry wood block. We have a variety of different tools that allow us to shape that glass, and here we're shaping it on a big steel table called a marver. And then in my right hand, I'm shaping the glass. This is a wonderful tool because they say it's the closest that you get to touching the glass. You actually can kind of cup the glass, and that is about 6 sheets of the Peoria Journal Star folded up and soaked in water. So not only is it a wonderful tool, but it's free. So we love that. So here we are, hanging it over the edge, blowing that hot bubble. And this is a unique tool here, cork pads that allow you to flatten that bubble. You'll see in a moment here. So this glass is at about 1900 degrees when we're working with it. That bit that's being brought over right now is about 2100 degrees. So you really can manipulate it. You know, it's limitless on what you can do. You usually have a plan in mind before you execute something, because glass is not very forgiving. It will take over you before you can really put together an idea of what you're making. So I like to make a lot of home decor line of work. I was trained by a Venetian style glassmaker. So my line of work is influenced by the Venetians, and then a lot of the styles of vases that I make are Roman styles. So a lot of these right here. I have the bowls. So I really love for people to be able to use the glass, to be able to develop a relationship with it, to be able to put it in your hand and not be afraid. I can make the glass really thin, but then nobody wants to use it. So I make my glass a little bit thicker. So during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to stay open, but the studio, the warehouse was closed to the public. So my team and I decided to work on some color series that I had been wanting to utilize. And we made a whole variety, 36 color series. So now it's a little bit easier to look on the website to hone in on maybe what you want or colors that you'd like to commission. So this is one of my favorite techniques, raking that glass, just like you get a fancy cappuccino from a coffee shop and they kind of rake it and feather it. That's what we're doing with glass. So the joining of the bubbles and in calmo, a very old traditional Italian technique. And we're getting ready for Valentine's Day. So we're making a lot of strawberries and roses in the studio. I brought a little strawberry with me today. I've got a few pieces up here on display if anybody wants to come up and look at them afterwards. Oh yeah, that's the, oops, let me go back. The furnace door at its fullest opening. So you can see that white light coming out of there. It's pretty hot at that point, probably resting at about 2150. Another one of the Italian techniques that I love to use. So I make all these sticks of glass, and of course the work isn't made just by myself. It really takes teamwork. So when I was at Echo Valley, I was just making small work and pushing myself a lot. I learned a lot. I learned more that I could actually use, or I could work by myself, but I dropped a lot of work as well. Yeah. One more technique that I love to use, and this is probably the love of labor and the sense of making all these little tiny flowers ahead of time. So if you imagine slicing a jelly roll and you see the circle on the inside, the spiral, that is the same way that I make my glass flowers. So I build up a pattern, and then they're cut in small little pieces like M&Ms, and then they're laid on the side, and the cross section reveals that pattern. So they're pretty intricate, and then we lay them out on a hot plate. We get them hot, and then we roll our blob of clear hot glass onto the surface of the glass. One of my very favorite forms to make, and I seem to do this during demonstrations because it's really risky, and I don't know why I do this, but before I was like, no, I'll never make a Jack in the Pulpit in front of people, no way. But you know, if I drop something, you'll never forget coming into my studio. This is a fun line of work where the glass can kind of delegate you, because you're picking up chunks and bits of colored glass. And if you know the term end of the day, you know, like maybe from a pot of soup or something, you just all the slicing and dicing of cooking for the day, at the very end, whatever's left, you throw it into a pot, and whatever is in there, that's what you get. And that's kind of my end of the day pieces. And these are pretty popular. So like I said, the teamwork would not happen without these three ladies here. We currently have 5. This is my core group right here. We got Mary Vazanelik on the far left, and then I'm on her right, and then Brandy to my right. She runs the back half of the studio, the website. She's my right hand, pretty much everything. And then Molly on the far right is our gallery and social media girl. So if you do watch us on social media, it's usually Molly behind the camera, but they really are a fantastic team. And I will have to brag on them for just a moment, because I gave them a very rigorous challenge last year, because we had to cancel 100% of our classes during the pandemic. But when we notified everybody, 97% of people wanted to hold their credit to come in at a future time. So that gave me hope that we were going to be okay. But I knew we were going to be very, very busy last year. So I gave the girls a challenge. They met it. They blew it out of the water. So they earned a trip to Mexico. So we are just coming back from our vacation. So kudos to them. It takes a lot of training, 5 or 6 years to be able to learn how to handle that glass before you can really keep it on center and start to make a simple form, a cup, a bowl, a platter. And through the younger girls, I do offer a lot of mentorship. On Thursdays, we do a lot of intensive training. So we're teaching a lot of classes on Saturday. Like I said, we're doing private lessons. We're getting ready for our St. Valentine's workshop. You can come in and make a heart with us, or we're doing stemless wine glasses. We give you a one-on-one, hands-on opportunity. Through my research, I really wanted to give people the most amount of hands-on, and it's such a foreign medium, and it's kind of awkward. But we're right by your side, making sure that you're having fun and you get to really explore that medium. And our team building workshops are a really great opportunity for those to come in that work closely together, but potentially, you know, in a very hot and dangerous environment, and they have to use their communication and their trust to work with each other. Do a lot of Girl Scout outings and donations. We've had people in wheelchairs. And I had a friend who actually is blind. He's been blind since he was 25. He came in and blew glass with me. So that was a really, really awesome experience. Ages 6 up Yep, 6 and up can play. So not only do we teach, we make a lot of different work. I have my line of work, and then we also offer commissions. So this is a permanent installation down at the Peoria Symphony. Recently, we started offering this annual award to OSF. They're a philanthropic program. It is to recognize one person who has done great for OSF for that year. So this is the 4th year that I am participating in this. It's really an honor to be part of them. Corporate gifts, sure. Anybody a Caterpillar engineer in here? Anybody? Yeah, do you know about these awards? No? Okay. So these are some awards that are given to Caterpillar engineers that receive, they've made 12. It's 12 patents. Yeah. Okay, so remember I was talking about the humanity side of glass making. Behind that orange flyer is a memorial flyer. And this was something that started just a few years ago. And it's just taking a great sweep with touching people's lives. And never did I think, well, first, I never thought I'd have a studio. Second, I never thought that I'd have an impact on people's lives and touch people in a way that gave them comfort. So we started making memorials using cremains. And the white that you see in the glass right here are, well, all of our example cremains are a pet that was given to us. But this is a really, really awesome offering. And it's one branch of the business that we are starting to broaden a little bit as well. So we're seeing that there is a need for that, and it's a really, really great way to be able to create a piece of art using a loved one's ashes. Like Tom was saying, you can watch us on Facebook for our Wednesday live streams at noon. So every single Wednesday at noon, we are trying to go live, give you the closest up opportunity to be able to see the hot glass. And then we also have an annual open house that is RSVP. So you can join our newsletter. You can ask me to get an invitation to it. This is our 13th year in business. So we're going to have a few months this year that we're offering 13% back in purchases, kind of like a Menards, 11%. We're doing 13%. Yeah. So, it's fun. So that's always the first Wednesday in September. And you can watch us do demonstrations as well. So the pumpkins, maybe you have a pumpkin, you've seen my pumpkins. This is kind of something that just I love to make. And since we're right across the river at Morton, Illinois, that's been going over really, really well. This display of pumpkins right here was in a movie last year. So that was the first time my work has ever been in a movie. It's kind of cool. It's called Baking Up Love. Yeah. So we probably made about 1,400 pumpkins for the last 5 years, every single year, maybe about 900 last year. So on this party night, we overstaff it, and we cater it, and it's a lot of fun. We do giveaways. It's a really, really great time to come in. And if you come in, you're going to be greeted by our friendly mascot, Snoopy. He's a rescue dog here. He celebrated 2 years with us yesterday. So, yep, and he likes to lay right by the furnace. Yeah. So this is the entrance of the studio. When we look out our entrance, we look at Habitat for Humanity. So just to kind of give you a perspective on where we are, our entrance is on the other side of Sheridan Road. So my description at first was, to provide opportunities for people in Central Illinois. Well, we've had bus tours come from Iowa, Indiana. This one came from Ohio. I think that was the furthest that they've driven, but really it was a compliment to have people come in. So I know that some people mentioned that they've seen me through Ollie as well. You can come and see me, and we will give you an awesome time. So this is what I feel so compelled to be able to give to the community, a sense of enjoyment and pleasure. And we say, you know, you're going to walk into the studio, you're going to be treated very warm and with a welcome. You don't have to have any experience. We want you to forget your shame, your pain, and just come and enjoy some art. I know the crayons get pulled out of the hands at a very young age, but I truly feel like we all have something very creative in ourselves, and the time is now to get out there and do something. And maybe you have a project that's been on the back burner, and you know, I invite you to revisit that and really enjoy some time for yourself and do something really creative. There's nothing better than having a little bit of downtime for yourself. I know that's something that I'm learning to do anyway, but yes, so thank you so much for hearing me today. Does anyone have any questions?
Yep, right here.
Okay, yes.
So I don't really have a question, but I have a comment. If you guys have been binge watching during the pandemic, Netflix has a really awesome show called Blown Away. It's like Forged in Fire, but with glass. And I'm just waiting for your name to be called and to be highlighted on season 3.
Yes, thank you. Had a lot of people say that actually. But yeah, I'm happy here. I'm happy here. Yes.
Stupid question, but I'll ask.
No.
Have you ever touched the warm glass? What happens if you do, other than a Band-Aid? I mean, I can't understand 2100 degrees.
Everyone
What does
wants
that
to know
mean?
how hot is it? Yes. So, okay, here's the deal. When you're little, your mom or your dad tells you that stove is hot, right? Don't touch it. Well, your curiosity, you kind of want to. Well, then you realize how freaking hot it is, and you're like, okay, note to self, I'll never do that again. So I've burnt myself a couple times, but if I'm doing it often, then I am in the wrong occupation. I actually burn myself more on my oven racks than I do at the studio. But if you do touch that glass, your skin's going to turn white. It just immediately, the skin, the tissue just dies. Yeah. So yeah, when we're blowing glass, we have our hair back. I am super strict about everybody wearing glasses and toed covered shoes. I've heard too many stories of ladling glass between the toes and sandals, hair burning. When we are finished with a piece that is ready to go into the annealers or the kilns, those have to stair step down to room temperature. So when we're done with the finished piece, we put it into an oven that's at 1000 degrees. So if you open that, whether it's a top loader or a side loader, that radiant heat's coming out. So you still have to protect your face, your hair, your skin, because it's very hot. It's very dangerous. In the summertime, I always say that we're going to stop blowing glass in July and August, but we haven't yet. But we get up at like 4 in the morning and go, and then we're done by about 10. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tell us about these pieces.
Okay.
that you brought along.
I was just very curious on your team building events. How do those go?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the team building is a unique opportunity to come in and play with us. And we have 2 people on the floor, and one person is the assistant and one is the maestro or the artist in charge. So that humble assistant is helping guide them, protecting them. You saw that paddle where I was shielding Brandy from that radiant heat. So we do a little bit of coaching in the very beginning to talk about what your role is as an artist and a maestro. And then everybody has a chance to be an artist and everybody has a chance to be an assistant. And then everybody gets to make their own project. In the very beginning, we were making just one collective project, but then we found out people didn't really like that. They still wanted to make their own. So we have people help each other for that. And I can give you some information. I can send you a package as well. Yeah.
I'm curious as to your marketing and the cost of goods. In other words, how do you market and do you have a retail shop there where you're selling glass, and what's a typical piece, little vase cost?
Sure. Okay. No, all very, very good questions. So we do have a gallery right next door to the hot shop. And so like this Jack in the Pulpit right here. So this is, I brought some of my higher end, my fancier pieces that I love. This one goes for $265. Okay. So some of the bud vases, a little bit smaller, might be anywhere from $80 to $200. This one again is $265. So our cost of goods, recently, about 4 years ago, and it was before the pandemic, there was an issue that had happened in the glass world that forced a lot of big studios to close. And that made our availability of our clear glass a monopoly. And our clear glass rose by 39%. So I buy the clear glass by the ton, but I'm now getting it from Germany because we can't get it in the United States anymore. So our cost went up from about $1 a pound to about $2.65 a pound. So I buy about 4 ton a year, but it's more the color that costs a lot. If I were to buy a ton of a pink or a red, that would cost about $80,000. Yeah, it's gnarly expensive. We have a 3-phase furnace that's holding our glass, and that is probably our biggest cost besides staff.
Yeah, that was one of the questions we got online was, what's your utility bill like?
Yeah, you don't want to know. No. To operate the studio, it's basically what you pay in a full year of your heating is about our bill for a month. Yeah, so that's where that cost comes in for sure. And then all the times that I've tried to make this piece and then I've dropped it or it hasn't been successful, right? So you don't just, it's just like anything, you just have to practice a lot of, right, and endure that. And so this to me is considered a little bit of a bigger vase, and this is something that I would not make in the summer, just because opening those doors to the reheating chamber they just exude so much heat. So this one's $285. So I also have a little strawberry down there. I think she's 40, and then one of the sun catchers there is 45. So we have gifts from $5 all the way up to $2,000. But I know that if you come into the studio, if you say I've got a budget in mind and I've got a color in mind or a shape or something, that we are confident that we can find something for everybody. Yes.
Are you going to do farmers market or any other events this year?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I was a vendor down at the farmers market for 12 years, and I took a break a couple years ago and finding that people are coming in for classes. And so I like to be in the studio when our classes are going, even though those ladies pictured are some of my main instructors. But right now I'm just kind of honing in. I used to go out a lot, but it takes a lot of time out of a busy day, as you might know. So kind of honing in. And I was up at Lyle at the big pumpkin patch at the Morton Arboretum for 6 years. And then just due to needing to render all those classes back from the pandemic, I stayed back last year, and I'll probably stay back this year as well. So we're trying to get people involved, either watching us on Facebook or coming to our annual party.